Cosplayland, I am Alice and today I'm going to show you how I made my Marcille cosplay. I started watching Dungeon Meshi quite late, but like everybody else I can totally see the hype because this series is genius and completely bonkers, but it was also amazing, and the moment I saw Marcille I knew I had to do it because, you know, she wears a cloak, she is an elf, pointy ears, and she makes magic. What can go wrong with that? Even if I started watching this series quite late, I decided that I wanted to make it as soon as possible while the series was still running and while all the hype was up, including my one, and that's why I decided to just finish everything by hand and add lots of extra silly details and make all the little props. Yeah, I'll let you guess how that went. The thing is that because I wanted to make this cosplay as quickly as possible, I decided to just go to my stash, see what fabrics I could use for her, and these are the ones that I decided to do, and I'm very proud to say that all of the materials that I used were already in my stash, so I didn't have to buy anything new, which is amazing. In total, this cosplay took me about a month to finish, but with a little bit of editing, I'm just gonna show you how I made it step by step, so just keep watching. Are you my little familiar? Are you gonna help me make the cosplay? No. So for Marcille, I had two options of fabric. These, in my opinion, was the more accurate colors because they are slightly have a green hue to them. However, I did not have enough of this fabric, and also this material, I don't think it would look good because she's wearing kind of like a medieval dress. So none of these materials are technically correct because they are kind of like stretch fabrics, all of them. It's like a cotton stretch, and I don't really think that's gonna look how I want it to look. Even if it looks like the right color, I did not like them. So I decided to go for a less green but perhaps a little bit more accurate with the times color. This is more like a cotton linen blend, and this is cotton as well. So this is something that, technically speaking, will have been used in medieval times because they will have like natural fibers, so something that looks like cotton or linen was a better choice in my opinion. Once I had decided on my fabric, I started by making a mock-up to test my patterns. I like using weights and a rotary cutter to cut my pieces, and if the mock-up is successful enough, I can even use it as my lining. Once I had tested the shape and the length of the cloak, I cut the pieces into smaller panels. If you want to save some time figuring out the pieces for this cosplay, I have actually made a pattern, and I will leave you a link in the description with the sewing patterns I made myself. I cut the cloak in a strong cotton twill, being careful to add seam allowances to my pieces. Notice I cut the hood a bit longer than needed on my version to cover for some mistakes I had on my mock-up, but you don't really need to do this. For the details, I chose this pleather fabric to give it a more rustic effect. I really think it suits the theme. And as I will be sewing this piece on top of my fabric, I cut it from the pattern after I had already cut the blue base. The good thing about pleather is that it does not fray, so I decided to skip the seam allowances at the top, but I still needed it at the sides and at the bottom of my fabric. Another characteristic of pleather is that it will show any holes or any mistakes you make, so to avoid pinning the fabric, I used quilting tape, which is a type of double-sided tape for sewing that dissolves with water. With all the pieces ready to go, I carefully aligned them, making sure the pleather matched to create a continuous line. The curved pieces work exactly the same. I pinned them on the straight edge and I slightly turned the fabric at the top to match the curve. The back follows the same process and it is also sewn at the center back. And with the front and the back pieces assembled, the hood was also sewn together. It is now time to add some details. I iron the seams to the sides and press the edges.
So I decided to top stitch this part, just add a decorative stitch, and I just wanted to show you this is your normal thread that you get with your machine, and this is top stitching thread, which is way thicker. So this is the kind that you want to use to add decorative stitches. It's a bit thicker. You only get 30 meters in here, so you run out of thread very quickly.
And I must warn you, using top stitching thread is not easy and you may need to check the tension of your machine. It will tangle, it's a little bit of a pain, but if you practice a little bit, you may be able to get something very pretty.
Are you gonna help?
And with all the details done, it was time to assemble the cloak pieces. I also decided to add a top stitch at the bottom, but I knew my machine wasn't strong enough for so many layers of pleather, so I simply sew it before I turn the edge inwards and secure it with a catch stitch. You don't need to do this, I just thought it would look prettier, so that was my own decision. It is totally up to you. To
you understand why it takes me so long to finish any of my cosplays? This is actually the other reason why. With all the pieces assembled, I attached the lining to the cloak and hand-stitched it in place. If you do it this way, you can make sure the lining is folded slightly shorter and it won't be seen from the outside. In general, you will get a better result if you hand sew the pieces, but of course it's gonna take way longer. But you know what takes no time at all? That's right, the shipments from Mocha Queen. Because you can change the color of your eyes within a week if you live in the US and about 2 weeks if you live in Europe. And there is no magic. I change the color of my eyes for every single one of my cosplays and I don't even need to use black magic, which is handy. You can wear blue eyes, red eyes, green eyes, every color of the rainbow, and best part is that no matter what color I choose, my contacts will arrive before I finish my cosplay. You can use my code AliceCos for a 10% off, but honestly, I know it doesn't matter because you won't need it. They always have amazing offers and currently they have a 2-for-1 that you can use to buy any pair of contact lenses. Thank you so much Mocha Queen for sponsoring this video, and now let's go back to the slower part of sewing Marcille. Next step was cutting the pieces of my baggy trousers. These are actually easier to sew than you think. You simply have to sew the front legs to the back legs. And you do this for both sides. Once they are attached, turn one of the legs inside out. And then insert that leg inside the other one. It is now very easy to sew the crotch, which is this U-shaped area. Once you turn your fabric once again, you already have the basic shape of your trousers. The only thing left to do is to fold the waistband inwards to create a channel for your elastic. Make sure to leave a space unsewn so you can just put the elastic through with a safety pin. And also sew the end of the elastic so it doesn't come undone. The cuffs for the legs are simply a rectangle folded in half with the seams ironed inwards. Sew the edges together to create a circle. I gathered the leg openings so they fit my cuffs, and I sew the cuffs in place. With all the seams hidden inside, you can sew the edges again. And don't forget to insert the elastic to these pieces as well. And with the trousers finished, we finally get to the main event, the dress. Place your card on top of the buttons to make sure they don't move, or something like that. As usual, I just had exactly the amount of fabric needed to make the cosplay work, but with a little bit of magic, I made it possible. I mean, I'm a cosplayer, I do magic all the time. There is nothing special about making the dress. I simply close the dots at the bodice and the skirt. And then I match the notches at the front to sew the bodice. I join the sides and the shoulder seams. I folded the sleeves and I sew the edge. And placing the sleeves inside my bodice, I gathered the extra fabric at the top before I could sew it. The skirt for Marcille has a few pleats at the front. I iron those before I attach the dress. I also mark notches where the pleats should go to make it easier to set, because once you are sewing this, it just becomes a little bit crazy, so if you cut little notches, it will make your life so much easier. This type of pleat is called a box pleat, and you need to fold the pleat going to each side so it becomes like a book that opens up. If you want to avoid your pleats from moving, you can simply baste them at the top, and you can even just baste them all around to keep them closed while you're working on the dress. I couldn't see any pleats on the side of Marcille of the back, so I decided to add none to that side. With all the pieces ready, I only had to sew the sides and iron them. Well, you know, you can use a cat, it's optional, up to you. Now I only had to attach the bodice. For the back, I actually did a terrible job with the zipper, so I'm not even going to bother showing you how I did it, because honestly I do not recommend doing it this way.
This is looking terrible. Of course a cat will make it better, but yeah, I think I'm gonna have to just undo the whole thing and do it again. I just wanna go quick and I can't.
Yes, things happen when you cosplay and things go wrong and you have to unstitch things and do them again, but that is cosplay. You try and try again until you get it right. After fixing the zipper, I only had to hem the skirt, which of course I did also by hand because I was in a hurry. Yes, I just said that. I know the sentence doesn't make sense, but cosplay doesn't make sense, and yes, my cat loves the camera very much. Probably more than me. I haven't shown my face in practically the whole video. A few more details with grommets and leather cord, and the dress was finally finished. Are you ready for the reveal? Now, I know that I said the dress was finished, but there are actually a few more details that I have made and I haven't shown you. This video was getting too long, so I decided to split it in half, so if you want to see how I made the pouches, the staff and the magic book, make sure to come back next week because you will have the rest of the video where I make all the accessories. Remember that if you want to save some time figuring out the pieces of this cosplay, I will be leaving you a link in the description where you can download the patterns. Thank you so much to my patrons for being the ones feeding my cats, and thank you for watching this video. I will be seeing you in the next adventure. Bye! I mean, if you're not gonna be useful, can you just leave my thread alone? Thank you.